Whenever I'm at conventions where I get to see live reaction of people checking out my manga, one of the most common reactions I get is they flip through the pages and see that it's a full color manga with 200 plus pages and they're like, what? Wow, that's amazing. How did you do that? It's crazy. And honestly, I totally get that reaction. If I told my past self that I would be releasing 3 full-color manga books, each of 200 plus pages within 4 years, I would totally not believe it. Because drawing a whole manga book from scratch always felt like an impossible workload for an artist like me. So in this video, I want to tell you how I actually did it, how I broke the workload, and was able to achieve this. So first of all, if you're new to my channel, I want to tell you that this series that I'm drawing is actually originally a webtoon series, so it wasn't drawn with the intention of being a manga volume. That's basically how my workload started. 5 years ago, I decided to embrace my childhood dream and illustrate the story I always daydreamed about, and I chose webtoons to be the medium I draw it in. So I started drawing the chapters. I was very excited, finally granting this dream, so I drew chapter after chapter in the vertical webtoon format. And by the time I was at around the 14th chapter, I felt like, you know what, I've always wanted to make a book out of my story. I had a vision that I would see it in a bookstore somewhere as a manga volume. So I decided, let's just try and experiment with putting it into a page format, and that's how this project began. I started compiling them page after page, and I did that while continuing to draw the chapters. Since I had absolutely no experience in designing manga for book format, I was very slow in the process, so for the first volume, I commissioned someone to help me continue the formatting of the book, and that's how I was able to finish and release the first book. However, with time, I gave myself the space to experiment with page design, so I was doing it at my own pace, one chapter at a time, and by the time I reached the third volume, I was very used to doing this kind of work. So what I did was basically, whenever I finished drawing a webtoon chapter, I would immediately just go into my book files and work on converting the chapter into page format such that I can see the book filling up alongside me progressing with the story and publishing webtoon chapters. So this is basically it in a nutshell. Like I said earlier, if I were to plan the whole book from scratch, I wouldn't have been able to complete it. But because I do it in chunks, I'm able to work on it without losing motivation and actually reach the finish line even if it takes a long time. You know, drawing comics or manga or webtoons is a hectic work, and it's also a lonely journey. So one can easily lose track of their progress and feel stuck in the middle and not be able to progress. I always say it's hard to start a manga project, but it's even harder to continue. So for me, the main motivator was actually publishing whatever work I finish, even if it was in small chunks. Basically, my webtoon chapters have been having around 60 to 70 panels per chapter, and since I draw it with a lot of details, and you know, life happens and things interrupt your progress and stuff like that, so with all these delays, on average I'm able to finish one webtoon chapter in a month or in a month and a half, depending on the situation. But since it takes that much of a time, I break even that into smaller chunks. So I break each chapter of mine into 2 to 3 parts, which I share it online whenever I get it finished. And those small pushes really help keep me on track, make progress even if it was slow, because for each update, I get to see readers' reactions, I get to read their feedback, their theories, and those really excite me and make me feel like I'm not alone in this journey. So those small chunks are published over time, and without realizing, usually in 2 years' time, I find myself that I was able to finish a whole book. And like I said earlier, with my third volume, I did the book conversion most of the time immediately after I finished drawing the chapter. So with that, throughout the way, I was able to see how far I am from the completion of the book, and that gave me even more motivation to push through so that I can reach the end goal of finalizing the book and releasing it. And you know, converting a webtoon chapter into a book format can be really challenging and needs time and effort so that you can come out with a good result. But personally, although that's the case, I started to see it as a fun activity, such that whenever I'm sick of drawing, or I'm tired or facing an art block, designing the book would be a fun activity for me to spend time on, and it also gives me positive emotions that I'm still making progress even when I'm art blocked. And I get rewarded with seeing the result coming together. An important note to mention here is that I was working on this series completely on my own until the midpoint of volume 2, where I was getting into chapters full of action scenes and I was panicking on how to draw these and how to manage the workload since they're so challenging, and burnout was starting to creep in. So in that time I decided to seek assistance, and since then I've been working with 3 assistants who help me sometimes with sketching, and I delegate flat coloring as well as shading to them such that I don't dissipate all my creative energy, and I'm able to still find joy into creating and illustrating this passion project of mine. Now, converting webtoons into a page format is a whole nother topic that I get asked a lot about, and I'd really love to make a video for that, but because it would take me a long time to create such a video, I need to first make sure that there's enough demand for it. So if you're interested in seeing that, please tell me in the comments so I get to know. And lastly, I want to say, I've just dropped the 3rd volume of my series. I'm actually crowdfunding it right now on Kickstarter in order to secure the funds necessary for self-publishing this book, in other words, printing and distributing it. And I'm also doing a reprint of volumes 1 and 2. So if my work grabs your attention and you find it interesting, I would really appreciate it if you check out my Kickstarter page and support it and spread the word around it so that it could potentially reach more people. And even if you're not thinking of backing the campaign, I would really appreciate giving Entwined a read since it's available for free on multiple Webtoon platforms. You can find the links for everything I mentioned in the description and pinned comment. And if you're interested about my journey and how this project of mine was born from its infancy date to what you see today, then you can check out my storytime video titled "It Took Me 15 Years to Draw My Manga." Although I made this video 2 years ago, even personally I still enjoy watching it because it charges me up and it's a good reminder for how far I've come since the early days. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope you get to check out my work and enjoy it.